love that music. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This morning we're talking sex crimes, and we're very honored that this gentleman took the time off of his busy schedule to come hang with us and talk with us. We have Daryl Joseph, and of course, many of you might know him. He's a counseling psychologist, and we definitely needed one in here this morning for this chat. So welcome, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you very much, Nikki, Alana, Josiane.
Thank you for joining us. Move into the music.
Yes,
bobbing your head. So thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I've watched this show quite often.
Oh, okay.
And I've always wondered, I wonder when they're going to give me a call.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, you see? And today in the hot seat.
There you go. I'm in the hot seat. I'm comfortable in the hot seat.
Very good. You look comfy. Nice. If it was next day, I'd rub your ball head, make sure everything goes after. All right. All right. So we have a topic that is very concerning to many of us as citizens, especially as women. You know, it's something that it's very close to our heart. Because, you know, this happens, Daryl. Every time I open the papers and I read these stories, it hurts me as a woman. Yes. It hurts me to think of a woman being abused. I think that's every woman's fear in this country, to be abused and raped like that.
Raped.
Violated.
Violated, that's the word, violated. And we would, you know, there were so many different angles to talk about sex crimes. And so let's just look at general. You do a lot of counseling, so you have a lot of interaction.
Every day.
What is the main reason you think that sex crimes happen straight across the board?
All right. You mentioned something before the break about sex crimes not being completely about sex. Okay? About there being an element of it to do with power and dominance and a need to control. There's a nasty set of circumstances that have kind of combined, like a bad pot of something or the other, that has resulted, I think, in the increase that we see these days, all right? I'll throw some of the things out. Now, I want to make an assumption here. I'm looking at the sexual appetite as, let's say, a beast or an animal that if not tamed or if fed, if gorged, will just continue increasing and increasing and increasing.
But isn't that animalistic behavior?
It is animalistic behavior.
Humor. It is not supposed to be
we're supposed to be the highest rank in the animal kingdom.
Supposed to be, right? Supposed to be. But understand something. There's a reason why, you know, long time they used to tell you to refrain from certain things until you get to a certain age. Yes. And now we see children, young people being exposed to all sorts of things, being a part of conversations, being a part of, you know, whatever is happening, and there not being a clear distinction between what is expected of kids and what's expected of adults. So we have a lot of children who are overly exposed, all right? They're overly stimulated. And understand that the stimuli comes from everywhere.
Everywhere.
All right?
I mean, some things I see on TV, some ads even, some commercials you see on TV, I think it's so
we have
sexual.
This joke in my house because anytime I see, okay, I don't want to, you know, thing anybody, but I was looking at an ad the other day for something that had nothing to do with people whatsoever. Like it could have been a picket fence or something. And there was this woman in a bikini. And I'm looking at it with my daughter and we're laughing and saying, well, what does she have to do with it? What does she have to do with it, right?
Because we all know sex sells. They put sex to everything.
But I noticed the ad.
Yeah, and you remember it.
So it fulfills its purpose.
So it does fulfill a purpose, all right? So, I mean, sexuality is everywhere, all right? It's in your face, it's on the streets, it's in your homes, it's people talking about it, sexual jokes, innuendos, it's there all the time.
But what I've noticed in increasing is that in terms of music, I've listened to like Vibes Cartel. And
do you sit and listen to the lyrics?
I listen to it, it's very explicit.
Extremely
even
explicit.
Though they edit it for radio, it's because children, adolescents are very curious, they want to hear the unedited version. So they'll go down to the internet and they'll download it. I've listened to the unedited versions. It's so explicit about, you know, genitals, about what he wants to do, and he talks about raping, he talks about ravishing, and and you know, it builds an excitement and curiosity that, especially for males, you know, it could feed them.
But not to correct you, Mr. Joseph, but
Daryl, please.
Daryl, I heard a line from a Mavado song that I cannot forget. It was a love song, and he says he's going to squeeze her nipple like the gun trigger of a gun. And I thought, wow, here's a love song talking about I'm going to squeeze your breast like the trigger of a gun.
That's what a love song, quote unquote, is these days. I was hanging with some friends the other day and we were listening to Lionel Richie. Of course, you know,
that was the love man.
Right. And, you know, we began joking because he's saying these youngsters now, they have no idea what this is even about. Yes. And there were a couple of young people among us and we kept, you know, provoking them, asking them, you know what he's talking about when he sings about XYZ. Do you understand what it is he's talking about? Because now it's not like that.
It's not like
it's
that.
not like that at all.
So much of the music out there, so much of what is written out there and being promoted in the media might perhaps, I mean, you could certainly qualify this or disqualify it, but creates perceptions in the minds of young people about what a woman is.
Exactly.
Right, which is,
as opposed to a who.
Women are objectified.
They are objectified, and I always remember one of my nephews, who's a little older now, but when he was a toddler, he was 4 or 5 years old, walking around the house. I mean, the words just coming out of his mouth. She's a hoe. She's a hoe. She's a, and I can't get into it, but
he knew all the
I
words.
Was just flabbergasted.
Was the child corrected? Was the child
he was corrected, but
fortunately,
he didn't understand.
But he don't even understand what a who is.
He doesn't know. He's just
that I'm being
catchy.
corrected.
He may not understand the fullness of who.
Exactly. We have a call on the line, and we want to try and get as many calls in as possible. So we say good day to San Fernando. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Hi.
And I have 2 boys. One is 5 and one is going to be 8 very soon. Now, my 8-year-old, we were looking at, as a gentleman was saying, you're looking at an ad and you're seeing these women half naked. My son saw these women with these underwears where it's in your butt. And he came to me and he asked me, not same time, maybe a couple minutes after, Mommy, why does women underwear go into their butts and why do they wear that sort of thing? Now, I didn't know how to answer my child, and I kind of tried to distract him. And I did not answer the question, and I don't know how to answer that question.
All right.
To be honest.
Thank you so much. And that's a problem that parents are going to have.
Just don't know how to.
Just don't know, because
so they avoid the issue.
I remember recently in one of the prestigious schools, there was a little bacchanal with 2 boys, etc. And a cell phone. And a friend of mine's son had just gone into the school.
Yes.
He must have been about 10, now going into Form 1, 10, 11. And he came to ask her about all that was going on, and she was not ready. She didn't think she would have to be ready at that age to explain to her son about homosexuality and the different acts and what he saw. So parents like this lady have a lot to deal with.
Yeah. Parents need to get up to speed very quickly and throw out the assumptions about, in terms of timing, in terms of what you think your kids are ready for. Because you can be guaranteed your children know more than you think they know. You have to work with that assumption now. Whatever you think they know, assume they know more.
And provide guidance.
And provide guidance as such.
Daryl, I always talk about this story because Oprah had done it some years ago, a few years ago, where she had 9 to 12-year-old boys and girls and their parents. And she put the parents in one room and she put the 9 to 12-year-olds in one room and to talk about sex and how the parents perceived it. Because in your eye, that's a child, that's your baby, 9 to 12. And compared to what the 9 to 12-year-olds, they were on totally different levels. And I think many parents live with blinders on because they're not ready to think of their 9-year-olds talking about sex.
As a sexual being.
You see, older heads, we assume that children are only exposed to the things and the channels that we were exposed to. All right?
Yes.
So we either found out about it from an older sibling, cousins, people around generally, all right? Now the kids have it everywhere. It's television, it's movies, it's games, it's music, it's neighbors, it's classmates.
And
my children bring things home from school.
Your friend in school have something, you know what I mean? And
your best option really is to keep the channels of communication with your children open. Don't let them feel ashamed to talk about anything, and get them in the habit of bringing things up
But
when
Daryl, let me ask you something. You mentioned the proliferation of stimuli out there. That's probably one of the root causes of why men feel that they have the right to engage in sexual in sexual offenses. But I'm reading here, a 50-year-old PH taxi driver appeared in court accused of 11 counts of sexual assault.
We have to take a break. We need you to answer that when we come back. Thank you so much. We'll be back. Let's talk. Right now. We're back, and again, if you've just joined us, we're talking sex crimes, and we have Daryl Joseph here with us, a counseling psychologist who is helping us try and understand this. And we were talking about
Yes, some information. Again, coming off of the crime statistics here. 50-year-old PH taxi driver appears in court on 11 counts of sexual assault against a 16-year-old boy. So again, that sex crime covered as well. Sodomy, buggery, or whatever we call it here in TNT. Another one, a 30-year-old man appears in court charged with 17 counts of sexual assault on an 11-year-old girl. So apart from stimuli in the environment, apart from the possibility that they themselves may have been victims of sexual assault and never dealt with it. So now they are perpetrating the crime perpetrated against them. And what else can we
would you agree that
attribute to it?
Would you agree that once they get abused, like the 50-year-old maybe he was, and you know, you're saying their acts are deviant, and then it turns into sadistic, it goes to extreme, because remember, those acts to them are normal. So what they portray on a victim now would be even far more dangerous or worse than what they were exposed to. Would you drag it? Would they go to that extent, to that sadistic form?
Well, let me throw something else into the mix, all right? Now, if you have something that is of value, something that is worth a lot to you, what do? You treat it well, right? I love this little device. So it's to see me always polishing the screen and putting it, you know, I don't want to leave it any and everything, because I value it, all right? Things I don't value, you treat it anyhow. Okay? Now, if I'm abused, especially when I'm young and my sense of self is still in formation, what's the message I get? The message I get is that I'm not worth anything. And if I'm not worth anything, my self-esteem will be very low. And I will continually feel as though everything is against me, I am down, and I may feel a need to assert myself somehow. And that's where when we were talking earlier on about the dominance, the need to dominate and to control and to be in control and to feel powerful, that's where it can come from. So that's why it's common, it's common that abused people tend to fall into the trap of perpetuating abuse themselves.
We have Aruka on the line. Thank you so much for holding, Aruka. Welcome.
Hi, good day.
Good day.
Hello.
Good morning.
I would like some advice on something. I have a 4-year-old, he's 4 years now, and I had sent him by the neighbor to play one day. There's a 6-year-old and also a 3-year-old there. When I went, I caught the 6-year-old stuck in my 4-year-old son penis. Well, I spoke to her parents and let them handle it. I don't know what should I tell my 4-year-old now that his eyes have been opened up to this, I don't know what to call it. But I am a victim of rape. I got raped twice. So I am really overprotective of my 2 boys. But how do I handle this with my son?
Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay,
Daryl, let's see if we can help her.
Sure. First things first, my lady. You need to have your son seen by a professional.
At 4 years old, he can process all of this, know that this was wrong, and it can affect him as he gets older.
Definitely. The images can stay, all right?
Wow.
It's also important that while it's treated and dealt with, that you don't turn it into too much of a monster. Because remember, children just absorb things as they come. So if you make something into a big deal, and if you make the child feel that they've done something wrong, then it can become a bigger deal in their mind than it necessarily needs to.
And would you say this holds true as well for this 6-year-old girl? Because this is modeling. You were saying it. This is learned behavior. She would have seen this media between 2 adults in her environment.
And in many cases where people live in cramped quarters, you know, mommy and daddy still being mommy and daddy.
Right.
All right? And when they think the child asleep, it's because of eye open or they're hearing something. So they're exposed to it. So they're mimicking behavior that they're seeing the adults doing.
No, I've always said this, that we are a culture that have looked at counseling and psychologists and so a certain way. You had to be mad to go there.
Think,
right. Do you think because, we threw that advice out to the woman, and we always do when we deal with cases like this, make sure and get help. There's help available, like we know the rape crisis is available, and the Ministry of Domestic
Community
Development has a domestic violence unit, etc. And there are many others out there. Do you think that people are more willing to seek the kind of help that is needed now in our culture?
I know.
So we're getting better?
Yeah, because I think a few decades ago I wouldn't be able to live doing what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can live doing what I do.
Because that has always concerned me, that we as a culture, as a society, don't take it as seriously as we should, which is counseling and needing help.
Now, the stigma is a worldwide thing. But it's still very much there, but it is changing. And even some people who would still ridicule it and make fun of it, quietly they are seeking help themselves.
We have Arima on the line. Thank you so much, Arima. Please.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
As a child, okay? I was very, very young. Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
And I was raped when I was 23 years old. And I cannot see me, a victim, will do that to anybody else because I have been through it. I have jumped into many situations that may have cost my life because of it. I counsel people too. And rape defiles your soul, not just the person. You see, the inner you, the beauty person that you are is defiled. And I don't understand, men, you have daughters, you have a mother. How would you feel if it's done to you? Oh my God, mothers are nurturers. What's going on? It is sad. We're worse than animals. I don't understand. And when I read the papers, I cry.
Yeah. It affects me the same way. Thank you so much for sharing. And I remember Oprah saying that because Oprah was abused as a child, and she says when you interfere with a child sexually like that, you steal their soul.
That's right.
You literally steal their soul because the innocence, everything about that person's life.
Gone.
And this person sounds like a strong person in the sense that she dealt with it, I guess, her way. But what makes it what she said different, where she could never see herself doing that compared to some people who the abuse will just continue?
Okay, two things. The gender response to abuse is generally different. All right?
Woman versus man.
Yeah. So it is more common for a woman to not perpetuate that kind of abuse. Now, other things may happen.
Right.
All right, her own sense of self-esteem, the way she relates to men, the kinds of men she relates to, what she accepts in a relationship, those things can be affected. But generally, you will not. Right. But generally, you will not get that kind of angry, aggressive response in women.
Because she sees herself as a victim.
Exactly, right? The opposite happens in men. All right? Not every man, but the opposite can happen in men. And understand something. Anger, very often, is an outward manifestation of depression. Huh?
Yes.
When men act out aggressively and angrily, quite a lot of the time, it is because they're actually depressed.
And they don't know how to communicate that because we're not culturalized to say that a man should be sad and cry, so I should be aggressive. You see, it's glamorized again. A man being macho and egotistic is okay.
How do you deal with her asking, because we as women always act, they don't have mothers, they don't have sisters. How are they able to separate the two, knowing that they're interfering and hurting a young child or a young girl, and knowing that they have two sisters and a mother? How do men, you know what I mean?
Yes.
How do men be able to set that aside versus, because we always ask it, they don't have mothers, they don't have a sister.
But more than likely, the relationship's probably strained. And they don't have a good relationship with any woman. So
I'll make a general statement. We have relatively low levels of empathy in our society today.
Yes, I agree.
Right across the border.
Right across the border, right? So if you are my sister, I'll protect you with my life. You are just another woman, I don't care anything about you.
Right, there's no emotional investment.
That connection that you spoke about, where, but these people don't have mothers, they probably do, and they might defend them very strongly. But that level of empathy where I feel what my brother or my sister feels is relatively low. All right?
Daryl, do you think that it's possible that for a repeat offender, as in the case here, 50-year-old man, 11 counts, 30-year-old man, 16 counts, that type of thing. Let's just assume for argument's sake that these are victims of abuse themselves.
Yes.
Is it possible that in their mind, perpetrating this act is their way of taking control of a situation in which they had no control? In other words, I rape you to assert myself when I could not assert myself when I was younger. I'm getting back my own.
Right.
But
Daryl, we will answer when we come back. We have Let's Talk. We'll answer that when we come back. Daryl is here with us.
Right now, everyone from A to Z.
Yeah. All right, we just love that music. Okay, so we're wrapping up. You threw out a very good question to Daryl earlier. I remember the question, Daryl. So much talk.
Really,
just go back to it.
The point I was trying to make is that when you are young and you are being abused, and the perpetrator, the offender, is older, bigger, physically stronger, when you as a child aren't able to fight back.
Yes.
But when you get older,
yes, you can.
And you're now in a position to fight back, maybe your way of exercising this from your system is to perpetrate the act again and again. In other words, you are dealing with your victimizer as an adult, but in fact, you have become an offender yourself.
And that's where we began talking about the subconscious.
Yes.
Right. It's really a subconscious motivator, meaning that the person who abuses is not aware of all what you're saying there. What you're saying is correct. But as far as they know, they see an opportunity and they just feel an urge and they go after it. They will not sit down and tell you afterwards, well, the reason why I did it was because I was abused and I wanted to assert myself. No, it doesn't happen like that, right? Analysis will reveal that.
Yes.
And will expose that. But to the person who's actually in the process of doing it, they will tell you they feel an urge.
Yeah.
Daryl, do we have any, I'm not sure in terms of our prison systems, and how do we deal with people that are incarcerated with these crimes? Do we deal with them at all from a psychological point of view, or do they just kind of come back out on the streets after they've done their time?
To the best of my knowledge, their work is done with them. I cannot speak from a detailed standpoint to tell you exactly what's done. But to the best of my information, that kind of work is attempted.
No, but something like that we need to pay more attention of, because obviously if you lock up what do I want to say, a wild animal basically, and you just feed it and release them,
they're hungry,
and they're even more angry now. And I have been always, one for prison reform, because many people are saying, well, the criminals, leave them, forget them, but at the end of the day, I keep reminding people they come back. They come back out and into society.
But some of them need psychological help. Some of them need to resolve the unresolved issues in the childhood and in the past, and if they work these things out, I'm sure they could get back into society.
And that's an important point when we talk about holistic management of this situation, because yes, we have options for those who are victims of crime. There's always recourse for them, but nobody is dealing with the offenders. Or nothing is being done to address the offender. So that
except we incarcerate them.
Yes, we incarcerate them.
Away.
We have one side being dealt with. So the scales are always going to be, there's always going to be that imbalance because we're not addressing that. And one of the things I wanted to raise, because I know this is the last segment, what are your feelings on this proposed sex offenders registry? Because essentially it's a brand that's going to be put on you for the rest of your life. The police are contending that it's only for their tracking purposes, so that they know what these people are up to. And if we're contending that they're not being treated when they're in the prison system, they're coming back out, so the police's job is just to track these sexual offenders. Nothing is being done on that end. What use is the sexual offenders registry to the man on the street if it is not publicized?
Well, you can answer the question right there. It wouldn't be of any use to the man on the street.
No, but what is your feeling based on the people you've dealt with, both on the victim end and those who perpetrated these crimes?
Yes. All right. I'll be giving more my personal opinion, which is not necessarily the opinion of the scientific community and so on. I have to put that disclaimer out there, right? I'm not a big fan of what I call negative reinforcement. Okay, so negative reinforcement is don't do this because so-and-so will happen, okay? That kind of approach works well with little children who don't have a better understanding or reading of a situation, all right?
It's like iron rod.
But I much prefer positive reinforcement where you're rewarded for doing the right thing and for doing good things and so on, all right? I suppose in a situation we're in right now where it appears to be out of control, drastic measures need to be taken. But I would hope that drastic measures belong to drastic times. And should drastic times subside, that more positive measures, I suppose, would be taken. That's my personal opinion.
We have Elsa Koro on the line. Thank you so much for holding so long. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and welcome to you too. Good morning to the panel out there.
Morning.
And just to make a quick point there, this caller you had before the Arima caller, where she said she was raped twice. Okay? I sympathize with her, yes. But being a person in that position, what she had passed through, she should have known better. Okay, I was there. Keep my children. Don't let them go, through what I went.
But when do you stop? This was next door neighbor's children. She sent them to play.
You can't sit down.
Why don't trust your children with no one?
No, but then you cage in their development.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing.
No, but
you could understand
her anxiety.
I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, yes, parents need to take accountability, but you need to communicate like good touch, bad touch. But you don't have to limit their every move, because
you
how
can't.
they have to socialize.
They have to.
Socialize
Yeah.
with their own age. They have to go out there, and then you now empower your child in knowing, okay, what is right and what is wrong.
Yes.
If you touch me here, I know that is wrong. Stop.
Yes.
I'm going to tell my mom. I
Yes.
know what is right. I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just limit them all the time and keep them in a glass cage. They would
Parents
not
need
be,
to have that talk with their kids.
They need
the good
to,
talk,
right?
the good touch, bad touch.
Yes, once they understand what it's all about themselves, right?
And you know, again,
Yes.
we kind of cage ourselves in the sense that even though that mom went through that, at 4 years old, you still think it's innocent enough to send your neighbor next door to your neighbor who have 3 and 6 year old.
Yes.
It's not like they have a 16 and a 15-year-old where you could be a little more concerned.
Yes.
But I could imagine what that mother went through, knowing she's so protective because she has 2 boys and she says she was raped and she didn't want, but you could see the innocence of sending your 4-year-old to play with the neighbors, 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Yeah, but who would
wouldn't
think that,
expect that to happen, right?
children harming children sexually now? Nobody has that concept in their mind, you know. We're already trying to grapple with sexual crimes, much less a child's sexual crimes. So you're sending a child over there to have normal play. What is the possibility of that actually going to happen? So you're not thinking like that. So that's why you have to empower your child, and that's why you need to set the boundaries and communicate with them to know right and wrong.
You know,
communicate.
Daryl, every time we bring up these kind of topics, I always like to keep the name Akil Chambers out there because so many children are being abused like Akil. This was going on a while with him. We still don't know who the perpetrators are, and he died because of it. And it's a name that I intend to keep out there, and because he represents so many of the other children who don't know this is happening too. What do we tell children who might be listening to this, might see Auntie Nikki, Auntie Alana, and think, wow, this is happening to me? Because I just imagine as a child, 8 years old, and somebody's abusing you, and it could be a family member. What would you go through as a child, and who do you turn to? So what do we tell kids out there that might be listening to us?
Silence is the biggest obstacle to getting overcoming these situations, all right? For children, if there is a parent or an older sibling that they trust, typically you would want to go more with a parent just to be safe, all right? That they trust, or an adult that they trust, they need to say something.
And we have the case of the woman who she went to her daughter, the daughter went and reported it, and mommy did nothing.
But there's also
in the case, I just want to mention that, right? If there's no adult that they feel comfortable enough with, there is childline.
Childline, right. I was about to say that. 800-4321. It's a toll-free number that they can call at any time, and it's a 24-hour service. 800-4321.
That's right. And I've worked with some of the listeners, so I know some of the people, and they're genuine people who want to help. All right? So the children can also dial that number, and everybody can call a phone number.
All right. So all the boys and girls, if you don't feel comfortable about anything, and you don't feel that there's anyone out there that you can talk to, we have that childline number where plenty of aunties and uncles are right there willing to help you. It's an easy number to remember, 800-4321.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I just want to make this one point I want to make before we wrap up and so on. I would like to appeal to the men. Let's get back to setting the right examples. I learned everything that I know about treating women from my own father. From how he treats my mother, from how he deals with other women and so on. So I learned everything from that. And I'm trying to pass on the same thing to my boys as well. And that's the easiest and most sure way of changing the mindset, the society, and the way things are going right now.
First interactions with family.
I would like, please, and let's keep children.
It breaks my heart,
stop including children in all the adult conversations and the topics and things, you know?
You know, Daryl, that's so true because, you know, around Carnival time, one of the reasons I had Nikki Land was I found that Carnival is so sexual that even the songs, the soca songs, everything straight across. And that was my motivation having Nikki Land. I wanted children to enjoy Carnival and not be as sexual as it is. And they still have parents that would say, wine for Auntie Nikki. And they would bend down. You know, and at some point, we as the elders in society have to take responsibility and know what we're doing to kids.
It's not cute.
It's not cute. And they think it's cute. This is what kills me. They think it's cute, you know?
It's not cute at all.
Daryl, we have to wrap up. We always run out of time every time we have great guests on. Anything else you just want to... Because I think that was a great point you finished.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
We have 30 seconds.
Yes or no? Are we an over-sexualized society?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we are.
Yes.
Thank you, Daryl, so much
My
for
pleasure,
coming.
my pleasure.
We had some news to break. We're taking a break. This is our final show until
Season finale.
Season finale. I'm sorry, it's a season finale until September. So we want you guys to be safe out there. Let's take care of each other as a society, and let's get back to the.
And thanks so much for all your calls and
And
feedback.
thank you to
support
everyone,
and
all the
love.
support. Remember, keep it locked on C. Of course, they will have many other entertaining shows. We thank you. We thank you, Daryl. Thank you,
That's
Josie
right.
and Alana.
Bye,
Ladies.
sisters.
Bye. Thank you so much. Yes.
Anything you want done, baby, do it naturally.